Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another EU book review in chronological order. We are on episode number 15, and that brings us to Karen Travis's second Republic Commando novel. Today we will be talking about Star Wars Republic Commando 000. Now this book was published in 2006. And it clocks in at 418 pages. Now, the main story of 000 is 393 pages. This book does include a short story written by Karen Travis called Omega Squad Targets. That's a 24-page short story. We're not going to be reviewing that short story. I actually didn't read it. So we're just going to be talking about the main story of 000. And we are back with Delta Squad. We are back with Darman and Phi and Niner and Aiton. And Itane is back. And Scarada is in this book. This book takes place about 1 year after the Battle of Geonosis. And Omega Squad has been out and about doing various missions for the Republic. As needed, different battles and different missions. However, the Commando, the Republic Command on Coruscant, has discovered that their network has been infiltrated by the Separatists. So there are Separatist traitors and infiltrators on Coruscant, and they have infiltrated the command structure, and they are committing terrorist attacks against Republic targets on Coruscant. They're trying to break up the communication between the command and the clone troopers. So there's infiltration on Coruscant. So they actually recall Delta Squad back to Coruscant. And not just Delta Squad, but we get, Omega Squad. But we also get Delta Squad. So we get two squads of clone troopers in this book. We get Darman and Phi and Aiton and Niner. It's hard to keep all the names straight. And then we get Delta Squad, which is a new squad, which has 4 clones: Boss, Scorch, Fixer, and Sev. And they're led by Wayland Vow. And Omega Squad is led by Scarada. As a side note, Delta Squad, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting this actually right, because there are a lot of different names of clone troopers to keep track of. So yes, so Delta Squad, as a side note, those were the actual clone troopers that you played as in the video game, in the Republic Commando game. So they brought them into this story. So now we have 2 squads that have been recalled to Coruscant, and it's their job to sort of find out what's going on and who the Separatists, who is infiltrated, who's traitors, sort of sniff it out and try to break up this Separatist incursion on Coruscant. They can't make it an official mission. They're not officially sanctioned, so they have to do it off the books. They have to do it on the down low. They have to do a lot of espionage and a lot of infiltration and a lot of searching, trying to figure out who's involved in this Separatist network and see if they can root it out and try to take out as many of them as they can. That is essentially the whole plot of the story. The whole book takes place on Coruscant, and that's actually what 000 means. 000, that's the galactic coordinates for Coruscant, sort of like the galactic center. So the whole book and whole story takes place on Coruscant, and it's them trying to figure out who's part of this network and who's buying guns and weaponry, and who is attacking the Republic, and who's committing terrorist attack against Republic assets. And they're trying to flush it out, trying to find out who's in charge, and they're trying to kill as many Separatists as they can. We get to see Omega Squad again, being led by Scarada. He was mentioned in the first book, but we never really met him. He plays a very prominent role in this book. And then we get to see Delta Squad led by Waylon Vow. And we get to see they both have trained their troopers, but their training methods have been very different. Waylon Vow is he's more of a hard case. He teaches them hard lessons. He's very hard on the clones. He tries to push them, and he teaches more with his fists than with his words. He's one of those hard case trainers that just sort of tries to make them hard and tries to beat the information into them in that manner. Scarada more or less views his clones as family, as his sons. He's a little softer, I guess, if you want to use that word. So we get to see sort of two very different ways of how clone troopers have been trained and how they're led into battle. So that is the main story of the book, is the espionage and the infiltration and finding out who is involved in this separatist infiltration. And it's pretty straightforward. There is a subplot in here, though, that does come up, and that involves Darman and Etain. Etain is back. She is now a Jedi Knight. I'm not really sure how she became a Jedi Knight. She was a pretty weak Padawan, but they have made her a Jedi Knight. So she is back on Coruscant with Omega Squad, and General Jusik is back. He's also helping try to figure out who's involved in this separatist plot. But there is this whole subplot in the book between Darman and Etain, and it is it's a love angle. There is a romance in the book. We have a romance between Etain and Darman. Etain is apparently in love with Darman. Has been thinking about him all this time that they've been separated, and is finally glad to be back with him. And we find out that apparently Darman feels the same way, although he's a clone trooper and he doesn't really have experience in manners of the heart, so to speak, so he doesn't really know what to do or how to handle that. There's a very awkward moment in the book where Etain professes her love for Darman over a meal. She just kind of blurts it out and says, I've been thinking about you ever since we left. I've been thinking. It was very kind of cringy. It was very Anakin and Padme kind of cringy. So we have this angle, this love angle, and this was really what sort of took me for a loop in this book. Was that I wasn't aware that that was part of the clones' makeup, but apparently they can fall in love, and Etain realizes through the course of the story that she begins to believe that the Force. She begins to believe that the Force is telling her that it is her job to give Darman a normal life. There's a lot of talk about how the clones are sort of shortchanged in life because they're only bred for war. They're only bred for military combat. They have shortened lifespans because they age so fast that they don't live as long as everybody else. So they don't get to experience things that other people would. Things like having a family, having a spouse, having children, having sort of a normal life. They don't get to experience all of that. And so Etain feels that the clones have been shortchanged. So she comes up with this brilliant idea that she believes that the Force is leading her to do, and that is she believes that it is her job to make Darman feel somewhat normal, and so she's going to give him a child. She believes that the Force is telling her that it is her purpose in life to provide Darman, a clone trooper, with a child. And so that happens. That does happen. She does get pregnant in the book, and it is Darmin's. And it was really a weird angle in the book. There's a lot of pairing off in this book, as in Darmin sort of has this romance with Attain, and then the other clone troopers start to begin to pair off with other people. One of the clone troopers gets paired off with a Twi'lek woman named Lasima. Another one gets paired off with one of the Galactic Republic workers. So it seemed kind of weird. We have this story, this espionage story, which is a pretty good story of trying to figure out who's committing terrorist attacks against Republic assets on Coruscant. But then we have this B-plot story of the clone troopers sort of weaving romance into it and sort of pairing off. So it almost felt like, you know, the B story almost felt like we were having something like Coruscant 90210. And it seemed kind of weird that she was weaving these romance stories into these plots. I was actually quite surprised that the clones were able to have children. I didn't think that that was something that a clone trooper would be able to do. You would think that if you were growing an army and you were genetically modifying this army to do nothing but kill, nothing but obey orders, and be brilliant military strategists and battle-hardened warriors, and you're genetically tweaking them so that everything that is not related to being a battle-hardened, you're taking that out. You would have thought that one of the things that the Kaminoans would have taken out of them would have been the ability to reproduce. Because clones don't reproduce, they're grown in vats. They're grown in tanks. That's how you make new clones. And so I would have thought that that would have been something that would have been genetically altered out of them, because if you want a perfect soldier, they can't be distracted by things like romance and children and family and things like that. So I was surprised that they mentioned that's actually something that happened in the book. Because I wasn't sure that was something that would really sort of happen. And then we're going to get an offspring between a clone trooper and a Jedi. So are we going to eventually have a force-sensitive or a force-using clone? That's an interesting thing. And I wonder if part of the reason why Karen Traviss wove this romance angle into her stories is because we know what's coming down the pike, right? We know that in 2 short years, the Emperor, Darth Sidious, is going to tell the clones to execute Order 66. And then the clones are going to turn on the Jedi generals and their Jedi friends. And that's going to create drama in this case, because Darmin's not going to want to turn on Attain, because that's the mother of his child, and now he has a relationship with her. So it's going to create this drama of what is he going to do? Is he going to defect? Is he going to, follow the order? Is he going to... So I think that may be part of the reason why she added romance angles in this book. It took me a little bit out of the story. I liked the espionage story, and I liked the story of what they were telling. I wasn't such a big fan of the romance novel angle of it, and I'm not really a fan of Attain. I'll put that out there. She wasn't a very good character in the first book. She wasn't a very good Padawan. She's not a very good Jedi. She's not a very good general. She's not a very good soldier. She's not going to be... So she's probably not going to be a very good parent. Everything she sort of does just sort of blows up in her face because she's not a very strong character. I'm very surprised they made her a Jedi Knight after Keylora. I really am. And she's not one of my favorite characters. And I'm actually sort of glad that there's a moment in this book between Skirata and Attain when Attain at the end tells him she doesn't tell Darman that she's pregnant, and she doesn't tell him through the whole book. He doesn't. The book ends. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. She's keeping that information from him. And there's this scene at the end where she tells Skirata that she's pregnant because he knows they're having a relationship, and he's okay with that, as long as she makes, as long as they're happy, she makes Darman happy. But if she's ever to hurt him, of course, there's going to be repercussions. But there's this good moment at the end where she tells Skirata that she's pregnant. And he just dresses her down for like 3 pages. He dresses her down and basically tells her, why would you do something so stupid? Why would you do that? You didn't even give him a choice. You planned this whole thing. You didn't give him a choice. You say that these are clones that are bred and that have no choice but to fight wars. And here you are forcing another thing on him that he has no choice over. You didn't talk about it with him together. You both didn't decide that you wanted to have a child. You decided for him that you were going to have a child, and you came up with this big, brilliant plan that this is what's going to make him happy. And he dresses her down, and it was a good moment because Skirata was saying everything that I was thinking in my head. So that made me feel better that was in there, that there was this 3 and 4 page dress down, and then finally he tells her. He says, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go off. You're going to have a kid. You're going to come back. And I'm going to raise the child. You're going to hand the child over. And I'm going to raise it. And then we'll talk. And then we'll decide what to do with Darman. And then we'll see if Darman wants to be involved. So he basically tells her, you're going to go off and have a child. And then you're going to come back. And I'm going to raise the child as a Mandalorian. And then we'll figure out what to do with Darman at that point. So that was an interesting thing. Another thing that I didn't realize Jedi could do was she says, well, I can go off and I can use a healing technique or a healing trance, and I can have this baby in 5 months as opposed to 9 months. I didn't know that was a force power. I didn't know that Jedi had the ability to shortened their gestation period. I never knew that was a thing, but apparently that's a thing. Apparently Jedi women can shorten the time that they are pregnant by using the Force. So that's something we learned in that book. I didn't know that. Overall, there's two stories going on in this book. I like the espionage story. I like the infiltration story. I like trying to discover who is a separatist traitor. I thought that was pretty well done. I thought that was very strong. I like Delta Squad. I like Omega Squad. I like the characters of the new characters, the new clones, the old clones. I like the characters of Val and Skirata. I like their different ways of them training and how both squads are different. I liked all of that. The B story, the romance angles, the pairing off of the clones with other women, the pregnancy part, all of that I could have done without. And I'm not sure where this is going. I guess we're going to find out. There's 2 more books. And I'm not really sure where it's going with that. I did find the book, I thought it was a little too long. It went on a little too long. I thought it was a little dragged out, maybe slightly bloated. I felt she could have told this story in less pages. Of course, if you had just scraped out all of the romance, taken that whole angle out, then you would have shortened the book and you would have tightened the book up. But even with the romance left in, I still felt it could have been shorter. I felt it was a little bit bloated and a little bit long for my tastes. Although I still am enjoying Omega Squad. I do like the clones. I do like Delta Squad. So she does very well with the characters, and she does very well with the clones. And I still hate Attain. I think that's, I guess that's good. I don't know if she means for us to hate her, but if she does mean for us to hate her, then she's doing a good job, because I really don't like her, and I could do with less of Atade in these books. So overall, I was going to give it a 4 stars on Goodreads. Then I got to the romance angle, and I said, well, this is only a 3-star. At this point, I'm going to knock a star off for this whole absurd 90210 pairing off that's going on. But then I got to the end, and I got this dressing down bit from Scarada to Atade. And that made me feel a little better, because at least Karen Traviss was aware of these kinds of perceptions that we might have. So that was included in the book. So I decided to leave it at a 4-star rating on Goodreads. That may change in time if I ever decide to reread this, but simply based on the fact that I liked the story, and I liked the clones, and I liked the espionage, and I like it being on Coruscant. I just could have done without all of the romance. So guys, that is my review of Star Wars Republic Commando 000. What are we going to be reading next? We are taking our palate cleanser pause, and I'm going to be finishing up the Gwendy trilogy, so I'm going to be reading Gwendy's Final Task next. And then when we come back to Star Wars, after the palate cleanser pause, we're going to be reading The Cestus Deception. That will be the next Star Wars book. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I know a lot of people like the Republic Commando novels, from what I've read and from reviews that I've read. A lot of people really, really enjoy them. And there are quite a bit of people who don't. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you're one of the ones that really, really likes her Commando novels and why, and let me know if you're really one of the ones that don't and why. So as always, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, put all the comments down below, share it around, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody that actually likes Atade, all 3 people of them. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.